Welcome back to another episode of Keep It on the DL. I'm Louis Angelillo. Alongside with me, as always, is Devin Buonanno. And the last time we talked to you was Monday of last week. So that means that the Yankees have only played 2 games since then. Since we talked to you last, they lost a doubleheader to Atlanta, and on top of that, Aaron Judge ends up back on the IL, which is extremely discouraging, especially after the guy comes out and says he's 100% healthy the week before, didn't need to go on the DL, and now he's back on the DL with that strained right calf. So, Dev, what is going on with Judge and the Yankees right now? What do you think of Judge saying that, hey, I'm healthy, and then he plays one game and he's right back on the DL? IL.
It sounds like Aaron Judge to a T. You know, I mean, when the guy is healthy, he's a menace, both in the field and obviously at the plate. He's a guy that everybody wants on their team and everybody wants on their side. From a character standpoint, can't ask for anything better, but the guy really can't stay out of his own way as far as injuries go. Obviously, like you just touched upon, he said he was completely healthy. And then he's right back on the 10-day IL right now. Booney just put him back yesterday. So it hurts the Yankees. Anytime the Yankees are going to have Aaron Judge in their lineup, they automatically have one of, if not the best lineups in baseball, honestly, competing with the Dodgers for that. But it stinks. It's definitely it definitely hurts the Yanks. I've been reading a lot from the ex-Barstool Yankee writer, JJ. I don't know if you know who he is, Lou, but now he writes for, I think, Bronx Pinstripes, and he's been advocating for potentially, and hold on to your horses here, for trading Judge for just what you could possibly get for him as far as starting pitching and prospects and whatnot. In the Yankees standpoint, for a guy that really has shown that he's made out of glass. And JJ's been getting a lot of negative feedback, obviously deservingly so. But he kind of has a point. I see it. I'm not saying it has to happen or it will happen, but it should be on the back of Brian Cashman's mind for sure, especially with Judge, the contract he's going to be commanding in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be commanding a big contract, but I really think that I don't think Aaron Judge is worth more than $15 million a year. I think that's right around the cusp. Right there is 15, and Judge is going to want 25 probably. And I really think he's right around 15 because he basically plays 30% of the season, and you're not going to pay a guy over $20 million to play 30% of your season. It's a difficult decision the Yankees would have to make in trading him, and how, you know, New York loves him. He's such a great teammate. He's a great leader on and off the field, and it'd be really difficult to just throw that away and just trade him away. And for who though? That's the big thing. Who would the Yankees get in return? I mean, Jacob deGrom is the only real name. I mean, Shane Bieber's had a great couple of years now, but you got to get the best pitcher in the game. The best pitcher in the game, or the best 3 prospects in the game for Aaron Judge. Because when Aaron Judge is playing baseball, he's the best hitter in baseball when he's right. No one wants to go face Aaron Judge when he's right. He can lay off some pitches when he's seeing the ball right. He's not going to go fishing. He's going to wait for his pitch. And when he gets his pitch, he's going to crush it. He's going to hit it hard somewhere. So he could hit to all fields. He's a tough person to shift for. He's got the whole package. So the Yankees know this. And hopefully Aaron Judge realizes, hey, maybe I'm not going to get that kind of money elsewhere. But if the Yankees can get an astronomical haul, I think they would consider it, but I don't think I'm not going to go as far to say that they're going to put Aaron Judge on the trade block. I think if teams willing to give, like if the Indians were willing to give Francisco Lindor and Shane Bieber for for Aaron Judge and Davy Garcia, maybe they would consider it, the Yankees. But for right now, the Yankees have other issues than worrying about what to do with Aaron Judge. Other players on the IL, Gleyber Torres, James Paxton, Zach Britton, DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu could be in the lineup next week, I believe. Britton could be back the following week, and I think Stanton has resumed baseball activities at 75%. So within the next 2 weeks, the Yankees might be getting these guys back, and they really need it. This doesn't seem like last year with the next man up mentality, because they're on a 5-game losing streak right now, 4 or 5-game losing streak. They haven't won. They need to get healthy. They got to get wins on the board, especially with this Toronto Blue Jay team on the rise. Without Bo Bichette, they've been on a tear. Bo Bichette sprained his knee, and they've been really crushing it ever since. That lineup can mash, and they just traded for Seattle pitcher Tajon Walker, give them some starting rotation depth. The guy's not a stud, but he's a guy that can eat you up 5 innings and keep about 3-4 runs on the board. And with that lineup, that's really all they need. They're going to put up. They have the capability of putting up 6-7 runs every single time they step on the field. So the Yankees really need to get healthy and get healthy soon, because right now this division looks like it's the Rays.
You're 100% right, Lou. I cannot agree with you more about that. I mean, this lineup, well, not the lineup, the division is scary right now. I mean, this Rays team is unbelievable. They're playing crazy good baseball right now. And just how you said, you hit the nail on the head. The Blue Jays are coming up too. The Yankees were in on Walker. They did inquire about him. I don't know how serious Cashman was about acquiring, but they did make a call to the Mariners. But the Yankees need to get healthy quick, and we're kind of losing track here. Obviously, this is only a 60-game season, and I think ultimately the Yanks will still win this division. But I mean, they need to have these guys come back quick. You're going to have Judge out for the next 10 days. You can't really say 10 games anymore, because who knows if they're even going to play 10 games in the next 10 days. But besides the point, I mean, you need to have Gary start hitting the ball. You need to have Gleyber really start waking up, who hasn't really woken up all year. He had a quick little stretch where I think it was over a 10-game stretch, he was batting just about 285. But it's going to be hard. I mean, and you have LeMahieu coming in too, which is big. I know he was taking cuts and feeling out in Scranton as of today, so that's a very positive sign for the Yanks. So we'll see what happens. This lineup needs to wake up. But also, Lou, I don't know if you were going to touch upon this, but I don't know. Did you see Hap's comments this week or late last week? We were saying about skipping over his starts.
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned with them. I mean, the guy's not dominant. He's not a guy you need out there every 5 days. When you can if you have the ability to throw Cole, Tanaka, and Paxton, you're going to do that. You're not going to make sure you can get J.A. Happ a start. But right now with Paxton there, Happ's our third starter. It's Cole, Tanaka, Montgomery, and Happ. He's our fourth starter right now with Paxton out. So I'm not too concerned with J.A. Happ's comments there. He needs to know that, he's the fifth starter on this team, and you're not going to throw your fifth starter every time if you don't need to. And Garrett Cole has not been an ace by any stretch of the means this year for the Yankees.
Nope.
Not at all. Not even in the slightest. I mean, the guy's given up bombs left and right. They hit 2 homers over 400 feet against the Braves. Garrett Cole has not been sharp, to say the least. I mean, the strikeouts are there. The stuff, is still there, but he is getting crushed. Absolutely crushed. The Yankees need a lot more out of him if they're going to do anything with winning this division or getting deep into the playoffs. Garrett Cole is going to need to be Garrett Cole. But, Dev, I don't agree with you that the Yankees are going to win this division. They can't get by the Rays. They're playing them another 3 times, I believe. They beat them 1 time this year, lost to them 6 times. I do not see the Yankees getting past the Rays right now, especially with all the doubleheaders they have coming up. Just does not bode well for the Yankees' schedule going forward. The Blue Jays are hot. They got 10 games against the Blue Jays. You're kind of hoping that they can win 6, with this kind of lineup if they're not healthy. So just things do not look great for the Yankees right now. Other quick moves they made before we move on here. They traded for a catcher from the Giants, Rob Brantley, I believe, and they brought up Florial, so he'll be making his major league debut in the lineup right now. Game is going on at 4:00. They have a doubleheader today against the Mets. So on to the Mets. Not much new with them. You still have Alonso struggling. The offense still struggles. They have some bright spots some days, but the Mets are just, they keep being the same old Mets. We'll see what this. How many games they play here? 1, 2, 3, 5 game set?
Play five games. Well, 5 in the next week, I believe it is. I believe they're going to have the doubleheader today.
One game Saturday, and then a doubleheader Saturday.
And then next Friday. Yeah.
No, they got 5 games in a row here with the Mets.
Yep.
So we'll see what the Yankees and Mets can do there. Maybe the Yankees need a team like the Mets to get going. But as we saw yesterday, you got anything there before we move on?
No, not really.
So as we saw yesterday, the Mets take the field at whatever it is, 7 o'clock, whatever time it was. They take the field. They give 42 seconds of silence honoring, Jackie Robinson and the fights that he had, through his time in the major leagues. Then they come off the field. They tip their hats to the other team, and that's that. They're not coming back on the field, with all the other games being postponed, so on and so forth. Then you have the hot mic issue with Brody saying it's, Rob Manfred wants them back on the field at 8:10 because the Mets and Marlins have missed so many games due to COVID that it's going to be almost impossible to reschedule this game. Maybe they can go in for an hour and then come back out at 8:10. And then you have Brody saying how, Rob doesn't get it, doesn't understand this. And then the mic picks all this up. Brody comes on and apologizes for saying that. He said, it wasn't Rob, it was Jeff that suggested coming back out at 8:10. And then Jeff Wilpons released a press statement where they spell Brody's name incorrectly. It's just a total. It stole from the moment that the Mets players tried to do, and in taking a stand like the rest of the league did. And it just totally took from that moment and just put it on the clown show that the Mets are.
Yeah, the only way this could happen is if the Mets were involved. And guess who was involved? The New York Mets. The whole debacle just screams Mets to a T. I've said this before in previous episodes, they can never get out of their own way. Obviously, Brody was being honest with a reporter off the record, but hot mics, as always come in clutch. I love a good hot mic take. I love it. But, from Manfred's standpoint, yeah, it's going to be hard to get these games. Look at the Cardinals, how many games they have to make up. And honestly, Lou, I think there's exactly 4 weeks left of the season. So it's going to be very difficult for these teams to make up these games. The Mets and Marlins did what they wanted to do yesterday as far as protesting, which props to them, absolutely. But, this is going to fall in the hands of the MLB, and I have no pity for Rob Manfred because I can't stand the guy. I think he's just an ass to begin with. So I think that's part of what the Mets were doing, too. To Manfred, because I don't think that they're fans of him either. But Manfred has to be understanding of the situation as well, and has to understand that these players are going to want to protest in the ways that they want to, number one. And two, obviously, it's not just that the Mets were protesting. This happened in every single sport, the MLS included. So, hey, Rob Manfred, wake up. Yeah. Stop sleeping, look at what's going on, and adjust to it. That's what your job as commissioner is.
Right, and not to jump on Manfred, but it seems as if this was the message that came from Manfred to get them back out there and play at 8:10, which would make the stuff that happened at 7:10 completely pointless. Brody then said that was Jeff's idea, not Rob's idea. So was it Rob? Was it Jeff? We don't really know. I probably think it was Rob and then Jeff relaying the message down to Brody, maybe as of his own, or saying, Rob told me this, maybe we should do this. And then Brody coming back and trying to keep relationships good with the league and Manfred because they are looking for new owners. So we'll see moving forward with the Mets, what happens here. And hopefully the rest of the seasons can be played in the MLB, and we'll have some sort of champion at the end of the year. But with the way the Yankees look right now, Dev, I think a suspended season wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, and that's what everyone's talking about with this huge pause for them. Like you said, 2 games in 10 days. I mean, they're only getting in their... I keep saying this phrase, which I really don't say every day, but the Yanks keep getting in their own way, man. I mean, they're given this time, but these injuries are just piling up on top of not performing well. I mean, as a Yankee fan, you definitely have to be nervous about how this team's performing. Personally, the way I've been watching these games over the last few weeks, like we've seen in 17, 18, and even 19, I don't see a spark with these guys. I don't know about you, Lou.
I see Luke Voigt. That's what I see. Out of all this, I see Luke Voigt as your starting first baseman for years to come. That's the one thing you can get out of the season.
Who, by the way, just hit a bloop single over Alonso for the first of the game. So the Yanks are on with 1 man out, or 1 on, none out in the bottom of the first.
Yes, Luke Voigt leading off today.
Yes.
Wait, they're home this game? No.
They're home.
Oh, they're home.
It's in the Bronx.
This is in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Yeah,
I wonder if they're away for the next game, or because they got to make up 3 games. So if they play
at City,
right, but they're playing 5 today, so 2 of these games are going to be on the road for at home in the Bronx.
It's so weird. I know that they're going to City Field next week. I'm going to pull up the schedule.
Unless they're going to City Field on Sunday or something like that, and to play both games, which would make sense. They're probably going to City Field on Sunday to play a doubleheader.
All right, so the Mets are the home team for the second game today.
Oh, so Yanks home, Mets
8-21 postponement.
So they are going to play in the Bronx Sunday, that means.
And they're going to play in the Bronx on Sunday with the Mets as the home team for the second game.
Okay.
Exactly.
I understand now. Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, last MLB news to touch upon here before we move on. Lucas Giolito, congratulations, throwing his first career no-hitter. I watched the last out. That guy crushed it to right field. Right there was Adam Engel to make a leaning catch to save the no-hitter. But congratulations to Giolito. Really big moment for him, excited for him. Sad that couldn't have that roar of the crowd at the final out, but just very excited for Giolito, and that's just an awesome moment for him.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, and for the White Sox, too, a team that's on the rise, a pitcher that's on the rise. He had electric stuff. Almost had the perfect game, too.
One walk.
Again, it's
one walk to ruin it.
One walk. Yep. Almost had the perfect game.
And 13 strikeouts?
It's a shame.
Something like that. I think so.
I know he had a ton of strikeouts.
13.
I'm not sure on the number. I mean, that's still insane, 13 Ks.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it stinks that there's no fans in there, and it was a home game, too. But a no-hitter's a no-hitter, so congrats to Giolito.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely awesome. And the White Sox are a team right now that I'm going to say you're going to see a White Sox-Padres World Series in the next 3 to 4 years.
I could see
I mean, those
awesome.
couple teams, those 2 teams get some pitching, and they watch out. Watch out for those 2 teams if they can get some pitching. And Steven Strasburg, Nationals shut down for the season. I think that's it for the Nats. All they really have is they got Scherzer, Corbin, but that's it. I mean, I'm really ready to stick a fork in the Nats here. I don't think they can get into the playoffs. But although the second spot in the division, the Mets and Marlins not running away with it, trying to show them that it's theirs, really the second spot's still open, you can say. But big blow to the Nats for losing Strasburg for the season.
Oh, big time. I mean, they haven't been playing great baseball at all year. So I really think them and the Mets are are the basement dwellers in that division right now. Marlins obviously turning a lot of heads this year with as well as they're playing. The Phillies suck too. I mean, the Braves aren't really that good. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win this division, but also, though, I don't know if we have the Yankee game on, but a guy that should be keeping his spot in the lineup, Clint Frazier, just hit an absolute rope to left center, deepest part of the park, to drive in Luke Voigt all the way from first. And
1-0
Gardner
Yanks.
just hit a bunt single. 1-0 Yanks, and Gardner just hit a bunt single down third to move Frazier over to third, and Gardner with an infield single. I love it.
Well,
I love the small
think,
ball.
Yes, I mean, that's one thing the Yankees don't do, and one thing that Brett Gardner needs to realize is, I think you've made contact 6 times on the ball in play, and 3 of them have left the ballpark, but that doesn't mean you're a home run hitter. You got to do things like this. The Yankees need to do things like that, and we didn't even talk about the debacle of Boone taking out Tanaka there and after 5 innings, which was atrocious. He was at 66 pitches, completely rolling along. Boone has been a terrible manager through all this, by the way. Aaron Boone has been disgustingly bad through everything. But we talked about the Yankees. Let's move on. News in your NFL update here. What's crazy is 77 positive tests for corona the NFL have. They sent them all. They redid all the tests. 77 came back as false positives. So you can totally see the difference of the MLB and the NFL handling positive tests. The NFL are like, all right, let's really see if they're positive. All of them came back as false positive. MLB, one player tests positive, they have to shut down the whole series. So you kind of see the difference there with the NFL and the MLB, how they're handling this. So at least it's great that no real positive tests have hit the NFL here. Other things going forward, you have Earl Thomas to be released from the Ravens. Landing spots for Earl Thomas. I know he's been begging the Cowboys to come get him. And potentially the Jets, Dev. What about that? You think that the Jets could go after Earl Thomas? Or is this someone that you can see was a head case in Baltimore, which is why they're getting rid of him, and maybe you're a little hesitant to bring him into a young team?
You know, for exactly that. Personally, I don't think he fits the Joe Douglas mold as far as character issues, and the guy's had his fair share of character issues just this year alone. If you remember the whole debacle with, I forget, it was his wife and his brother having an orgy in some house, some crazy stuff, or whatever the hell Earl Thomas is into. I don't think Joe Douglas wants to bring that into Jersey. So I don't see a fit, especially with, I think they really want to play McDougal too, because I believe that he's a free safety. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You could switch the safeties in the 3-4 or whatever, but and you got Marcus May too. There's no real need. I mean, Earl Thomas can obviously still play. I can't think of a team off the top of my head that could really use him. Potentially the Giants. Obviously, I know we're going to talk about the injury to their secondary in a minute, but I don't think the Jets are really going to pursue him quite heavily.
Fair enough. But if anyone's going to sign a player like this, it's the Dallas Cowboys. So they're, in my opinion, the front runner to go and sign Earl Thomas. And he wants to be there, like so it might not cost them a lot.
Exactly, just like how you said. I mean, he's voiced how much he's wanted to be a Cowboy in the past, too.
Yep, telling them to come get him after a Seahawks game, yes. You know? Things like that. But yeah, Giants lose Xavier McKinney, their first pick of the second round, the first safety off the board. So much promise, guy that can play the pass, can stop the run, can blitz the quarterback, can really do it all at the safety position. You wanted to see what he's going to look like in his rookie year. Maybe you'll get to see him for the last few games of the season, but they're not going to rush this guy back by any stretch of the means. Out for 10 weeks with a broken, fractured foot, and moving forward, hopefully he can get healthy and be a huge factor in the Giants next year. Or, you know, a miracle, Giants have a playoff hunt and they get him back. So could it happen? Sure. Will it happen? Probably not. I think they're going to be extremely cautious with him. Maybe give him a couple games at the end of the year to get a taste of the NFL. But they're not going to push this guy back. They have a lot riding on Xavier and the future of his future and, you know, the Giants' future with him. But I'm not going to sit here and blame this on Joe Judge like some people want to do, and Judge is being too physical with the players and blah 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 blah. There's no preseason games. They need to hit now. They need to get in football shape now. They need to be post preseason shape for week 1. And if they're not, they're not going to win. You need to know what it's like to get hit. You need to feel that soreness after a game that NFL players feel after a day of practice. You need to get into that, routine again of hitting and
Absolutely.
doing the hitting and taking the hits. You got to be in there. So I'm not going to be like Joe Judge is being too rough. Look, McKinney's got a broken foot, and their linebacker David Mayo has a torn meniscus. But guess what? A torn meniscus can happen in a no pads practice. So you're not going to just tell me, Judge is not doing the right thing here and so on and so forth. I've loved everything I've seen from him and his coaching tactics, to taping tennis balls on defensive backs so they don't hold. They can limit penalties and stop the holding. I thought that was interesting. I'm not going to hate on it. If it stops the holding, I'm all for it. And just being, that physical, ground and pound, hard-nosed football. I'm not gonna judge Joe Judge right away of all this. But I do think it was just an accident, freak accident. Guy broke his foot. It's football. It happens. Guys are going to get hurt throughout the season. So other thing. Go ahead.
Real quick, Lou, just touching upon that. I mean, I love what Joe Judge has been saying and how he's been carrying himself. I think a lot of Giant fans are in agreement. Obviously, I don't know how you feel, but did you see I saw a tweet yesterday, I think it was in a press conference yesterday, where he said that the training staff was putting bars of soap in socks, and they were going to hit Daniel Jones with the socks to get him in shape.
I would need to see that. I'm not going to. I don't know if it's fake news or not, but that does seems a bit egregious to be like, bars of soap and socks. Like, I don't know. That seems like a little much to me. I mean, just get the pad out and push them a little bit. But I don't know. That just seems like that just seems kind of dumb. That's like saying the quarterback's just going to be punched in the pocket to me. I don't know.
I have the quote here from Art Stapleton.
Oh, Art's a big. Yes, he's big on Twitter too. He's a good Twitter follow.
Yep, well, he tweeted yesterday at 5 o'clock. He said, Joe Judge on backlash from saying he'd like to get Daniel Jones and Giant QBs some hits some way before the home opener against the Steelers. Quote, I've got the strength staff downstairs right now putting bars of soap in socks, and we're just going to take him out back and whale him for a little bit.
Yeah,
how awesome is that?
I think that's the joke. All right, now that I understand that's the joke, I think it's a joke. I don't think there's any way they're just going to fill up, what is this, Step Brothers, where he's like, I'm going to fill up my pillowcases with bars of soap and beat the shit out of you. Like, that's not what's going on. I don't think that's going to happen. But I did see them taking off the red jerseys and letting, guys that get to the quarterback, lay a hit on him, which I'm totally okay with because, take a couple hits, get ready for the season, know what it feels like to get hit. But Daniel Jones is also not going to say he was untouched last year. The guy was beat up last year. Half the throws he made afterwards, he got frickin' crushed. Watch that Bucs game. Half of his completions were he got crushed after. So that is an interesting, I'd be very surprised if that actually happened. Now, another team, Arizona Cardinals, signed safety Budda Baker to a 4-year, $59 million deal, making him the highest paid safety in the league. What does this mean for other safeties going forward? I think Jamal Adams is going to want something around 5 for $80 after seeing this. Safety market's probably going to go up a little bit. But yeah, big deal for Budda Baker and the Cardinals. And I really think the Cardinals are a team to watch this year. Guy that adds, you're adding DeAndre Hopkins to that offense with Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk, and Larry Fitzgerald. It might be one of the better wide receiving cores in the NFL. Kenyon Drake was great for them, and on defense they drafted the linebacker some Giants fans wanted, on Clemson, going blank on his name.
Simmons, I think?
Yes, Simmons. Isaiah
right?
Simmons, yes. They drafted Isaiah Simmons to that defense, signing Budda Baker now. So the Cardinals got some things going for them. They're not going to be a rollover win in the league going forward this season.
Absolutely not. I'm very high in the Cards this year. Like you said, that wide receiver tandem. I mean, don't forget, they still have Larry Fitzgerald, too. Christian Kirk could definitely play. Very high on him. And obviously, you still, the brand new toy that Kyler Murray has in DeAndre Hopkins. So, Cliff Kingsbury is going to have an amazing offense. Kenyon Drake, for me, is the dark horse in this lineup just because of how he played with the Dolphins and then what he did the second half of the year when he went out to Arizona. Which Kenyon Drake are we going to have? But again, this is going to be a very fun team to watch on both sides of the ball.
It is. It definitely is. NHL news. Let's move on to the NHL. We got the Capitals firing their coach, Todd Reardon. And after being, crushed. I would say they were crushed by the Isles. They were completely outplayed by the Islanders in that series. And now you're totally questioning, maybe they should have never got rid of Barry Trotz.
Yeah, that was always very strange to me, especially coming off a cup win. And immediately that night, I remember that they were saying, wow, this is a great way for Barry Trotz to go out. I don't know the background on whether he had a little argument with ownership or whatever it was, but ever since then the Caps have really fell flat in their face, especially in the playoffs. So I've been seeing a lot of rumors potentially bringing back Bruce Boudreau, who coached them, I believe, up until 2011, if my memory is correct. But that would still be a little weird. He does not have great playoff success either, and that's partially why the Caps fired him in the first place. But, I mean, getting rid of Barry Trotz, for whatever reason, was a stupid move. Arguably the best coach in the NHL right now. But we'll see. I mean, Ovi definitely still has some years left in the tank for him. The dude could still play. He's out of his mind. And they obviously still have a great core with Backstrom, too. So we'll see what happens with the Caps and who they're going to bring in. I honestly have no idea. But the NHL, as far as some bubble play and some trades, I mean, there's a lot going on in the NHL right now. A lot of different stuff.
Definitely. And more stuff here. Coyotes lose 2 picks, a 2020 second and a 2021 first. I think they have a first-round pick this year, or did they give it to the Devils?
They gave it to the Devs. So,
I mean, in a very deep draft, from what I've heard in this 2020 NHL draft, it hurts not having a 2020 first pick this year, and definitely 2021 next year is going to hurt too. This was all for violating combine testing policy.
Exactly. And I don't know the specifics on what they did, but this came out last year, and supposedly, I mean, the NHL is going to come down on them hard. And the reason why they don't have that first-round pick this year is because it was on condition with the Taylor Hall trade. But eventually the Devils do have that pick, so that is why they do not have it. And I actually I can't speak to that. I saw something yesterday in that the Yotes don't have a pick in the first 2 rounds. They only have 1 pick in the first 2 rounds over the next 3 or 4 years. I forget what this. It was a crazy stat for a team that definitely needs rebuilding. And I mean, if Taylor Hall ever needed a reason to get out of Arizona, I mean, this is it. I mean, the dude's gone, so he's not going there. I think he's ultimately going to go back to Edmonton. That's what my gut says, either there or Colorado. I still haven't decided. So the Coyotes, for a team that was on the rise, especially in the playoffs, that surprisingly beat Nashville, they're really not really going to go anywhere, especially with you have to build through the draft. They're not going to have an opportunity for it. And on top of it, their GM that conducted the whole testing thing that they had these violations for just picked up his shit and left last month out of the blue. And you're like, what the hell? So he's not even, they're getting punished for not even having someone there anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in Arizona.
A lot. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap up our NHL news here. And then obviously we have the big stories of the walkouts, the boycotts, the, not showing up, not playing, whatever you kind of want to call them, by the NBA, NHL, MLB. I believe, I think 22 of the 30 MLB teams sat out a game. I think there were a couple that just kind of had off days that didn't really do it, and other teams did it already, so they might not do it. Like, that's a team like the Yankees that probably not going to see them take a game off. But the MLB did it, the NBA did it. NBA started it with the Milwaukee Bucks, being that the situation with Jacob Blake happened in Wisconsin. So Milwaukee Bucks were the first to do it, and then, people went and followed suit. NHL then eventually following suit, canceling last night's and tonight's playoff games, and 7 NFL teams canceled their practices because of this. And I obviously have mixed feelings. I think everyone's going to have some kind of mixed feelings with this, starting with baseball. I understand it, and anything that happens, you have to respect people. You have to respect their decisions going forward, and things like this, and how they handle things. I don't really have any problems with walking off the field, not playing. You understand that this is a serious thing going on in America, and it's been going on for quite a while. And if this is how they feel the need to bring attention to it, then I respect it. And you have to just respect their, that this is what they chose to do. You don't have to like it, but you have to respect it. And I think that's what's getting lost in the world today, is people don't respect each other that have different beliefs. I can respect someone that has this belief of they shouldn't be playing the games. And I can also respect someone that says, I really think they should be playing the games. I don't have to pick sides. I can respect both of their opinions and think for myself. You don't have to be anti-something if you're for something else. You don't have to be anti-everything that's against it. You should respect other people's opinions. You shouldn't just, call them names, just trash them and slander them. You should respect people's opinions, and I'm not going to, destroy anyone for wanting to, protest the game. Do I think there are other things? I do think that you're on this national platform, and you're the ones that have a voice. I mean, I'm doing a podcast right now. I have a voice, but I am reaching maybe no more than 200 people here. I'm not reaching up towards 200 people, but you have a microphone in front of you in your locker room or at your press conferences, you have a microphone in front of you, you're reaching upwards of hundreds of thousands of people. And I think that's more of a time to go out there and use your voice rather than not show up. I think using your voice and getting a message out there is more impactful than saying, yeah, no one played for a day because of, in protest to Jacob Blake's shooting. So, like I said, you just need to, it's the golden rule, Dev. You need to respect others, treat others how you want to be treated. And I really think that if we can bring that back, this world would be in so much of a better place than it is right now.
Exactly. And I'm not even going to really touch upon it, Lou, because I think you really, really just said it beautifully. I'm not even just saying that. So it just boils down to respect. People are going to have their differences, obviously. Both sides are not going to agree with what the other side has to say. But for both sides, don't go and try to force feed the other side,
Mm-hmm.
Just respect it. All right, you want to go and protest a game? Cool, if that's how you want to do it. Like, it's not going to change I don't know how to really say this, but it's not going to have an effect on me. Like, it's not going to be a detriment to my life.
Right. If the Mets played last night, right. If the Mets played last night, your day to day is not going to be affected because of that.
Right. And it's a win-win because with that, like you just said, and at the same time, they are expressing their feelings because it means a lot to them. And that is awesome. And that's the beauty of living in this country.
Yep. It is. So, you got to respect their decisions not to play, NBA, NHL. But something actually this morning I saw Stephen A. Smith say, and the players in the NBA right now are not happy with LeBron James. Because when the Milwaukee Bucks decided to protest, LeBron was very hurt that they didn't come to him and tell LeBron that that's what they were going to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
King LeBron,
apparently after all these, they met, they did all these discussions, they had a meeting and everything in the bubble about it. And they said, after the meeting was over, LeBron got up and talked for 15 minutes. And he was using phrases such as, I got to look out for the people beneath me. And the NBA players didn't like that. LeBron holding himself into a higher stature than the people beneath him. And there's a lot of tension in the NBA bubble around LeBron James right now, and the way that they think that why do we have to come to you first before we do anything? LeBron's just another player in the league. Yeah, is he one of the best players in the league? Sure, but he's just another player. You don't need LeBron's permission to do something. It's almost like if you are you're practicing and you need a water break, you go over to get some water, you want to tell LeBron's like, no, you got to ask me first before you go to your water break. It's like, no, we're on the same team, we're all doing the same thing. If you want to get up and speak, that's fine, but don't talk to them like you are above them. And I really don't think there's a lot of players that didn't appreciate that, and all this, it's what I'm hearing from Stephen A. Smith at the bubble. So that's something that is interesting going on right now in the NBA, is this almost civil war between the league and LeBron. I'm not sure how many players felt that way, but there definitely is some tension with them and LeBron in the bubble right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I didn't actually hear that, Lou. It's the first time I'm hearing it, but it sounds like LeBron to a T to me. But all I'm saying is MJ would never do that. So that's all. Yeah,
I mean, they're not going to come up here and crap on LeBron. LeBron does do good things in his community. He does give back. He's not a bad guy or anything. But the way he's coming off right now is not good in terms of, with the players and so on and so forth. And one thing I do want to say before we wrap it up here is the NFL's 7 teams canceled practice. I believe it was the Lions, the Packers, the Jets, 3 more. A couple other teams canceled practices. But, I mean, canceling practice, that's not on a national stage. No one's really going to be like, oh, man, I don't get to watch my team practice today. Maybe you're canceling practice for other reasons. Like I said, I'm going to respect your decision to cancel practice, but wow, I mean, it's just a practice. It's not like it's nationally televised and it's national news you're taking away from it, or in terms of a game. You're not boycotting a game. I mean, it's just a practice. You're only hurting your team really by not practicing, but I think the NFL should be practicing. I don't think they really should have canceled practice. But the games, I completely understand more. Like I said, I respect the NFL for canceling, the practice if that's what the teams felt was the best thing to do. But I really think, other teams, they had conversations. They had meetings before practice about this. And I think that's the best way to handle things, is to get in a room, talk about it, decide what you want to do as a team. And the Saints decided to put Jacob Blake's name across their helmets, which, if that's how you want to do it, I have to respect it and say, okay. I wouldn't have put Jacob Blake's name across my helmet. There's no way I could bring myself to put Jacob Blake's name across my helmet. I could put police reform, I could put equality, I could put, social justice. I could put something like that across my helmet, but I would not put Jacob Blake's name after learning about him and becoming, more educated on this situation. There's no way that I would ever put Jacob Blake's name on anything that I would ever do. That man was accused of horrible things, and I'm upset with the Saints for doing that. I really think the Saints didn't know what I really think it was just very impulsive by the Saints to do that, but wow, I was a little sad to see that. I'm like, you really don't know what this man, Jacob Blake, has done in his life, and in no way am I condoning him being shot. But that's a stretch. I mean, there are people out here that didn't really care about the passing of Kobe Bryant because he was, allegedly, had a rape issue in the beginning of his career. There were people that didn't really care for his death. So now it's like, all right, this is a guy that, yes, was wrongly, shot, didn't need to be shot, but he was accused of third-degree assault, like third-degree rape charges. He was a child beater. He beat his wife, and then he broke his restraining order, which ultimately was the situation that was going on there. He was breaking his restraining order against the ex-wife had, or the kids, something like that. But man, I was sad to see that the Saints put Jacob Blake taped the claw across their helmets. But like I said, if they did police reform or social injustices or equality, things like that, I would totally applaud them. But man, I mean, granted, if that's what they feel to do, I'll have to respect it, but it's not going to change my life going forward. But I was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy for me to see that they did that.
Yeah, I can't add anything more to that either, though. It just would be repetition. I think you echoed it perfectly. I mean, obviously, living in this country, they can go about it whatever they feel, and especially now, more so than ever, you see players being outspoken and promoting it as much as they want. But I mean, on a happier note, I could just tell you that Clint Frazier just hit an absolute bomb to right field to make it 4-0 Yankees. He's 2 for 2 on the day with an absolute rope to left center and a yabo into the first row of the bleachers and right. So
that's the way to end the show right there.
That's the way to end the show
so
right there.
4-0 Yanks against the Mets in this first game of the doubleheader. You'll probably be listening to this tomorrow, so we'll be back next week. Devin and I, we want to get into some college football next week. Hopefully, we'll talk about what's going on with Big Ten and SEC, ACC, all that good stuff. We'll get into that next week. Hopefully, the Yankees could be in first place by the next time we talk. But that'll be it. That'll do it for us, and we'll see you next week.